Hey guys, it's March 26, 2016, about 10:15 in the morning. We're going to do another run of the gasifier here, and hopefully today we will be running that generator sitting over there. We'll be using that baseboard heater, and we'll see how it goes. But right now, I've already gotten done doing some preliminary readings on things. I'm going to give you a shot at the list here, so you can see what I've actually taken readings on. So this is all stuff, some amp readings, some airflow readings, different things like that without any fuel in the system. Then I'm going to go ahead and do it all over again with fuel. I'm going to dump the biochar and the, a little bit of regular fuel in there with it, and then I'm going to do all these tests all over again. And we're going to try to monitor as much as we can this time around. But before I pause it out, I'm going to try to do a quick walk around here, give you a little better shot of everything. So here's the heater we're going to use. Nothing really fancy to see here. Just the cord hanging off. That will plug right into this generator here. That cord that you see plugged into the generator right there, that's actually just a battery charger. I'm not even really counting that as a load, only because all it's doing is running this hour meter. I'm just trying to keep track of how many hours I run on wood gas here. So right now I don't have that wired permanently yet, so got the wheel kit mounted on here, so it's a little easier to move this thing around. So I'll give you a better shot of this gasifier hookup here. So here's your air intake on the right there, and that air filter. You're going to regulate when you're running on wood gas how much air you pull into the system with that valve on the right side. The other side will be wide open because you're going to be pulling the wood gas in. So the hose goes down to an adapter. I did buy a brand new carburetor just because. And I put new fuel lines and everything else on this thing. But there is a valve and it's turned off right now from the bottom of the gas tank, so we're not going to be running this on gasoline at all. Maybe toward the end I might fire it up a little bit, but for right now that's off. So we're going to, when we get that far, we're going to be running strictly on wood gas. So anyway, this adapter here, this the end of this hose, let's try to give you a little shot of it, is going to eventually get hooked in place of this flare tube right here. So I'll take that coupler loose and I'll plug that right onto the top of that. So then I have the cyclone filter here. Sorry about the cord you see dragging around in the background. The battery on this phone, or on this camcorder, is not really that good, so we got to drag the cord around. So you see I have the hose mounted to the stand, so it's not yanking on the plastic there. And then I got a check valve right at the end there. We learn our lessons well. So this tank here is going to capture hopefully moisture, and if there would be any fine particles left, it'll get captured in here. And then of course at the bottom there's a drainage valve and a sight glass, so to speak, to see how much fluid is in there. So then we have our unfiltered flare here. I'm really not going to light that off just because of the way the cords are. That's just going to be to warm the gasifier up for now. But you can see this is the last place to tie into the regular system before it goes into the filters. So even if I don't close that valve when I'm done running that unfiltered flare, the check valve would stop any air from getting in there, but I do plan on closing that, so even if I forget, it doesn't matter. Did get some new wheels on here. You can see now that it's out in the open a little better. I do have capture areas in the bottom of all the filters, and there's valves on the bottom of those, so they could be drained out pretty easy. Around this side, we have a thermocouple on this side, which I neglected to show you guys on the last video, but I will be taking that off during the portion of the run where we're lighting this thing off, so I can use the ignition port there. So you'll be able to see that go in. And basically that's everything. Here's the hookup for the green hose coming off the blower. So we'll be running on, well, first we'll be running on the junk blower. Once it's warmed up, we'll be running on the big blower and probably flaring off after the cyclone filter there. And once we've got that done for, I'm going to let it run for quite a while before I try to fire the generator off of it. We will try to run the generator, warm the generator up, and then we'll be off to the races with the load on it. So I'll get back to you here in a couple minutes when we're getting ready to load this thing up, and then I'm going to probably pause out and do whatever testing so I don't have to make you guys watch all that amp readings and flow readings and all that stuff. And then I'll get back to you in a minute. Alright, hang on. So we did our preliminary tests. We got it. We did our readings with and without fuel, and we're getting ready to fire this thing off. So we're going to come over here and take this thermocouple out right now. Right now we've got the hopper pulled closed, and we've got all the leftover biochar, and then just a little bit. It was like 3 pounds of fuel that I had left. We haven't even gotten into the full bag here yet, and then there's more for that afterwards. But for right now, I'm going to take this off, set this off to the side, and we're going to light this thing off. So, fire up this blower. Here goes nothing. I like to say that's wet. I don't know if you can get a shot inside there to see it. Okay. Time you got?
10:58.
Nice. So 10:58 is our official start time. So we're already up to 230 degrees on the thermocouple. Expansion tank temperature 61, barrel temperature 72, ambient air 52. Final gas 52, top of hopper 55, and then our air pressures are minus 13 kPa on the pre side of the filters and minus 0.5, which is sort of non-existent on this blower here. So let it warm up for a bit. So right now, if you look at our gauge here in CFM, really nothing going through it now because I finally got everything sort of packed down on the inside. Now on the CFH side, we're at about 100. Might even be pegged. Cubic feet per hour side. So we're somewhere in between there as far as the flow and the air going in. I only have that blower running at 30 hertz right now. That junk blower, for all intents and purposes, was a junk blower. So we're still watching our thermocouple temperature come up here. We're up to 550, but we are running on the big blower now, so if there still is any tar being produced. I had a problem with bridging where sort of the back side of the funnel was clear and the fuel was still on the front side, so I'm going to check the fuel here in a second, make sure that doesn't happen again. But as long as we still see the thermocouple coming up, we're on our way. Hopefully the filters do what they're intending to do here, you know. But I just thought I'd give you a shot of that. Little whiff. I guarantee you we can light it right now. I promise you that. Well, guarantee you'll probably when I tell you. No. Try it. Let's see. Let's find out. One ball. Oh, that's nothing.
That's the part.
Well, we do have the flare lit. See our CFH gauge at 90, 95, somewhere in there.
It's about 770. It's climbing slow.
Probably burn the camera, you can't even see. Look at the heat signature marks on the ground. Maybe you can see it there. It's going to be a bright sunny day all day, so I don't think we're going to see a flare today. Minus 15.5 on the pre-filter, and then minus 17.3 kPa on the post-filter readings.
780.
780 on the hearth? Still climbing on the hearth temperature. I thought for sure it would shoot up a lot faster than that though. Yeah, but it didn't work.
It's like a candle, huh?
I gotta bring the camera over. What's our hearth temperature, Sean?
760.
Yeah, that seems to be a...
By the way, you're hired.
Thanks, man. I think you can kind of see it a little bit with the van in the background there. I mean, that is lit. And there is not a wisp of anything coming out. But if you look at our temperatures here, I don't even know if you can see them. Our thermocouple temperature that's in our hearth is only 777 right now. So now our barrel temperature is 147. Expansion tank, just drop that on me here, hang on. Expansion tank temperature is 86. Final gas temperature 63. Top of hopper 72. Thermocouple 790 now. And we're at minus 15.2 on the pre-filtered side and minus 17.1 on the post-filtered side. So the post-filter side hasn't changed much, which is a good thing. So still running at 30 hertz. Flaring nicely. Not sure how long we'll run before we try to fire the generator, but we'll see. The thing is, for whatever reason, there's enough of a resistance of airflow in here that we're looking at I can find it in the middle. That's all. Hang on to it.
You'll hear it.
Certainly doesn't need to be held close. Woo! And I think that's how it comes. Give me some more. Give me 10 cups.
Take
Another 10.
the eventful things and put them at the end.
So a friend of mine stopped by and he says, "What size fuel are you using?" I said, "I don't know, it's wood pellets." He said, "Well, show me something." We never saw it, you know. He says, "I have 5 pellet making machines at home." I was like, "What do you mean by that?" He goes, "I have 5 rabbits." We are pretty well loaded right now. Yeah. Now? What are you gonna do?
What was the point of that?
Huh?
What's the point of that?
I was just curious to see how much smoke was coming out.
Without the generator.
And I don't know if that's
Everybody that runs on that.
by itself, make you go again.
They don't have any smoke at all. Right. You know what I mean? To me, that's what, that's how I'm looking at it.
It's very well could be just one.
I'm gonna bring the camera over anyway, just to show it.
Maybe that's why you have to get the harness so hot. It will not go past 800.
We did manage to blow the flare out. And you can see a few wisps of smoke, but it may very well be moisture. We're not really sure. So, the thing that's tricky is we're fluctuating between 700 and 800 degrees on the thermocouple, but then again the thermocouple is mounted in a place where it's about 4 inches above the tightest part of the restriction zone, so we may never see it get to a higher temperature than this. And we may still be achieving a higher temperature, but I don't know. What's the negative air pressure sensor readings?
15.2 and 17.
So what do? Do you increase the speed of the blower? Well, you don't know what the generator is going to pull, so you could do another hour and a half worth of testing and then fire up the blower and find out that the generator pulls less than the first round of testing that you did. So.
Should I turn it up and see what it does? Either that or try firing the generator with all that smoke. I don't know. Gas is flammable.
Yeah, this is definitely the only thing is like fogging it up.
Well, I mean, you make an investment in this. You probably got $6 grand and everything. But the generator, I don't know, the grand scheme of things, cost me with the carburetor and everything, $60.
Oh, it's yours, so that's your fault on that one.
Yeah.
Probably what he's saying is he ain't mad if it blows up.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more upset
I
about
would love to
the
see a
blower.
generator running. I got a full I have to go on 20 grand.
I think it's level off, you know, so we say it's
Once you fire it, you're gonna shut it off, or you're gonna let it run.
You have to see how much air is pulling, right? I mean, that's curious about it. Just
So here's the plan. Once I hook it up to this hose, I have to open this valve up. Well, this valve can stay open now. The boil, as soon as you see smoke coming out of that air intake, it's time to shut that CFC off. You know what?
Why do you sit out of that? Why do you, because the engine itself is like it's firing up. It's basically,
Well, because I don't want to pressurize any lines. Yeah, I don't. Not to mention, you need oxygen. You can't run it strictly on, you know what I mean? So even the first two pulls or so, it's going to pull the wood gas that's in the air filter back in until you get oxygen in there, and then down into the tube. You're probably going to pull it a few times. So, Sean, you want to come over here when I say so, hit the red button?
Not that button.
I think we're full now.
But only after putting blue water. Like, oh, that's a
Okay, Sean, so you're looking at this. I'm going to work on putting this on. When you see smoke coming out of there, all right, shut her down. Sean, here, you do this. I'm going to Alright, so we're running 500 watts on the light. We're running 2,500 watts for a grand total of 3,000 watts. Plus, we have that little charger over there plugged in. I'm not even sure that's even working right now. That's minor anyway. So we'll take a look over here. We've got expansion tank temperature 81, barrel temperature 147, ambient air 57, final gas temp 64, top of hopper 74. We're going to skip down to the thermocouple, which is up to 727 right now. And then our pre-filter is at minus 13.9 kPa. It's at 14. And then the post is minus 15, kind of bouncing a bit, minus 15 kPa. And just for the record, our airflow with the generator under load is surprising to me. It's right at about 90, which is right where we were running at 30 hertz on that blower. So to me that was a really good guess. So 90 CFH. So the blower is no longer running. We just found something interesting here. I had that CFH gauge hanging off the bottom of this. Apparently there was enough resistance going through it that it started collapsing hoses down line. I was starting to think that my filters were getting blocked for a minute there. My pressures were really high. Looking at these readings here, I don't even know if you can see them, but you know, I was up to minus 21 kPa on my post filter vacuum level, and I shook the heck out of it, and it didn't seem to help much. But then as soon as I pulled this guy off of here, the CFH gauge, I had a huge inrush of air. And actually caused the generator to stall out because the conditions changed so fast. But this 90 here was actually starting to pull close. So I knew I had to do something here because, you know, it can't run like that. I thought maybe my filters were getting blocked up, but I'm glad to find out that that wasn't the case. So, interesting though. 5 o'clock, we're going to be switching to a different type of fuel. It's called stove chow. It's served in a bowl. Off. I don't know. We'll find out. Well, we'll bring the camera over. So it's after 6 o'clock. Pretty well leveled out. Running the light and the heater, the smaller heater, the whole time. That bigger heater was just a little too much for it. I probably could have run the bigger heater if I didn't run that charger so tight. It's about 1,300 watts. That's about 500 watts. I'm going to call it 1,800 watts. Probably going to run till maybe 7 o'clock. Shut it down and fire up the VFD and the blower again, and we'll do a flare into the night. So we can get a good look at the flare before we shut down. Do a good test for this thing today. Shot of these readings. Getting ready to shut the generator down.
Yes, sir. Look at that. No smoke at all.
I love that smell.
Clean. Don't think you can get any cleaner than that. There ain't nothing there. That's blue.
Probably took that tool though. Obviously not connected, but I'd like to make sure we're not going to run out. No, I don't want to do that. I think it's a good time to shut it down. Welcome back. It is Monday, the 28th at about 10:42 in the morning, and we're going to just do a quick clean out here. We're not going to get crazy pulling everything apart, but we're going to get a look inside all the pipes, take a look at how much biochar is left over. We'll take a look at how much fuel's in there. Before we started this, we were curious to see, is the blower stuck, so we turned it over by hand. It was okay. We piped the hose out the door and just ran whatever gas was sitting right outside. So that's all done. We're going to disconnect this now, and we're going to take a look inside some of the filters here and stuff like that. Now, we haven't looked at any of the filters over there, but we did look at the coffee filter. I'll just cap this off so nothing gets in here. I'll set this off to the side. Alright, so the first thing we're going to look at, since it's more toward the end of the line, is the inside of this coffee filter. I tightened it back up so that we could run that blower, because you could smell that wonderful smell pretty strong. So here is the coffee filter, which actually doesn't look any different than it did when I put it in there, which I'm very happy about. So that means the filters are doing their job. If you want to take a peek down in here, I'll get my light out too. I don't know if it'll help or hurt. Let's see. See if you can get a shot right down the pipe. I don't know. There you go. Pretty clean. So, we'll leave that open for now because we're going to go around to this side. Now we're going to start with the last filter here. We have the clamps loose, but we never had them off yet, so maybe I'll get the struggle a little bit here. Well, that's interesting. So we did for sure make a little bit of tar. Well, we knew we did in the beginning with that blower. And I'll talk about that in a little bit too, because that junk blower, there's a few things with that junk blower that's definitely going to get changed. But there's a shot. This is let's see if we can pop this off. This is what holds the polyester fiber material in place. So you can see that's pretty dirty considering what it was. I'm going to do a better clean out of that later. So it made it as far as the final filter here. So that's interesting. We'll go to the next filter. So this one has a screen on it because this is the wood chips in here, so I thought with fine particles and stuff we would stop some of that stuff from coming through. So I don't know if you want to take a peek down in the pipe there. I will get my light out again here. I'll try a different light setting too, maybe it'll help on a different. Hopefully you can get a good shot of that. So this isn't going to be a thorough clean out. We're just going to open things up and just get a general idea what took place here. So bear with me here. Like I said, we have some of these clamps loose, just the ones that I knew I'd be trying to take apart. This one seems like it's fighting, so I suspect we'll have a little bit of tar in this one. It's either that or when I glued the fittings, I glued them together to the rubber, but sometimes I was in a hurry to put, yeah, it looks like it's kind of glued to the PVC glue a little bit. See, it's stuck to it. Stuff's pretty good. Okay. Actually, just a lot of moisture there. You can see how much moisture's here. Got my light out again. So this is the stainless pot scrubbers. Maybe we'll pull one out if I can reach them. Yeah, I should be able to reach them okay. So, I mean, it's probably pretty dirty. I'll be able to see it on my fingers. I mean, it's not it's not sticky though. It's just kind of wet. So that's a good thing. But one big mistake that I'll talk about real quick was the location of my my junk blower. And it sounds like a lot of common sense now when you look back on it, but it was sitting right up here and it's laying over there right now. But one thing I didn't take into consideration was not having enough biochar to start this up and get it warmed up to the point where I'd be able to take over with fresh pellets. And what ended up happening was, from doing all the testing that I did with the biochar and the char packed down in there, I think I actually pulled like a wormhole through, and then when I dumped some fresh fuel on top of it, it kind of already had a place, like the easiest path to get through. And I ended up burning, I had a little bit of a bridging issue, plus that, which led to pulling a lot of fresh fuel down into the hearth, which led to creating a lot of tar on startup. So hopefully with a 10-hour plus run, whatever we did the other day, we should have enough char for next time to do this without worrying about running out. But, you know, the blower only ran for, I don't know if it was like 8 minutes or something like that. And you saw tar coming out. And of course I'm thinking to myself, well, how smart was it for me to put my laptop right here with, you know, this thing spewing tar out the side of it. So of course I grabbed some tape right away just to keep everything from getting all over here. But, you know, it gummed up pretty quick. You could take a quick look at it here. Here's the inside. You could see it was kind of slinging it. So this is definitely tarred up. Again, stupid things that you do. You know, I made myself a list of stupid things that we did, as I usually do. So try to avoid doing that again. One more thing while we're on the subject of blowers. This was my original blower that I was making for this project, and I just happen to have a 3/4 horsepower single phase motor laying around, and I happen to have a couple of squirrel cage blowers laying around that the motors were bad on. So I coupled them together, but it has this type of squirrel cage in it, and as you can see there's a lot of slippage going on in this type of squirrel cage versus something like this where the columns of air are tightly packed together and then the fins are long, so it kind of has a, this will pull a deeper vacuum than that ever will. But while we were over here talking about that stuff, figured I'd get that out of the way. Okay, so as far as the pipes here, you know, looking out on the output of the blower and even the input of the blower, everything looks pretty clean. So I was really happy to see that the blower wasn't seized up at all, knowing that we kind of prematurely started it on the big blower. So that's that as far as the filters. As far as I'm going to get into cleaning the filters out right now, I'll get into cleaning the system better, you know, not on a video, but you know, we'll talk about that stuff later. But so now we're going to get into draining the fluids out of everything. So I have this container here that I went and I took. I didn't want to take the wife's measuring bowl out here, so I just incrementally filled this gallon container so that I could figure out how much fluid's in each place. So we'll drain it into this bucket, then we'll dump it into this container, and then we'll see from each area what we got. So the first thing you'll notice is here's our official readings on our sight glass. This is for the condensate tank, and then you'll see how much moisture we trapped in that mason jar there, that's just in the route of the gas. So this is the level inside the tank, that expansion tank. So we're going to drain that off a little at a time here. So. It's surprising to see how much moisture actually is contained in the pellets that you buy that's a prepared fuel. That's why it's nice to have a valve on this though, because this thing will get pretty full. I'll just close it. I'll make a mess over here, right? So I think it's pretty safe to say that if I'm going to put a float switch in a pump anywhere, this is going to be the place to put it. At least one place of putting it anyway. Well, I'm not going to get too crazy. I think once we get to a drip, we'll just call it. It's close enough for me. Well, it actually fit in there. So it's 2 quarts and 1 cup, a little more than 1 cup. Just off the condensate tank, or the expansion tank. So, I don't know if I have a container. Yeah, I do. Hang on one second. This isn't exactly clean, but we'll try to dump this stuff in here so we can keep. So the official was 2 quarts and 1 cup. Okay, so the next place we have our mason jar here. I think I'm going to come around the side. It might be easier for me to. Pretty clear. Does look like there's a little bit of tar in the bottom of that though. Looks like about 2 cups. Now we'll do our filters. This is one thing I'm sort of interested in seeing too, because I don't know if this is something that'll have to be pumped out or not. First filters, about nothing. I don't even know if that's worth trying to. You're not going to measure that. It's maybe a teaspoon or a tablespoon or something. Second filter. About the same, really. Nothing measurable for, you know, for an 8 or 10 hour run. I mean, third filter, nothing. Nothing at all out of the third filter. So, I mean, we could try dumping it in here, but I really don't think. Put on out to a cup, for sure. So, we could figure all that out later, what the totals were of everything, but like I said, it looks pretty clean in the outlet pipes here and stuff like that. Pretty happy with that, I guess. So the big amount of water that we captured was in the expansion tank. And we will do a better clean out of the filters and stuff, but I think you get an idea of what we're looking at as far as those filters go. So we have the nuts loose on this jar. I'm going to finish taking these last two off. Take the door off. And again, we haven't seen it, what's in here yet. Maybe I'll even take this off so it's out of there. So you can see that was in the fire, but it actually, I think that, I don't think it's in a good location, to be honest with you. Because if you look at the numbers of what I actually achieved on the temperatures of that, I only ever got it up to about 800 degrees. But I think the reason is because, well, if you've seen the inside of Flash's design, this is actually at the top of the fire cone, so it's before the point where it's totally constricted. So it's probably about 4 or 5 inches above the tightest place in the hearth. So I'm thinking that there's a difference in temperature between where it's located and where the hottest point is. But there's really no other way to, without sticking it down inside the top of the hearth, down into the fire, there's no other way to keep a probe on it in any easy way. So. Alright, so let's get the light out here and take a peek and see what we got. Certainly doesn't look like a lot. Let me dig. I mean, there's the bottom. I always say I'm always surprised at how little stuff there really is in here. So you figure, you know, I mean, this thing ran probably, let's just call it close to 10 hours. 10 hours worth of fuel, that's about let me see, about 60 pounds of pellets is what ran through this thing. So we used an entire bag plus a half a bag maybe. So pretty interesting there as far as how much is there. Alright, so we'll pause it out. I'm going to try to clean up what's in here and set off my biochar to the side, and then I'm going to clean out what's in the top. And maybe I'll give you a shot of what was left in here too while we're going here. Here, let me see that. So you can see that's where we shut it down at. That's where we just decided to. It got dark enough that we could see the flare, and we were pretty happy with everything, so we figured we'd call it there. So I'll drain all this fuel out of here, and maybe we'll come back to you in a minute, so hang on. Alright, so one thing we did drain out here before was this the cyclone filter, whatever we captured in the cyclone filter. Now there is sort of the sight glass on here, and I didn't see anything in it, so I doubt we're going to even get anything. But here goes nothing. Literally. There goes nothing. So we actually connected this cyclone filter, and we didn't capture a single thing. Now these hoses here, I'm going to talk about a lot of the problems that I had. These hoses here were just cheap and what I had laying around. It's just basically a vacuum hose, very similar to what you see on that Dirt Devil right there. Just something that was laying around that I didn't last minute threw it together to do this run. When I had situations here, I was trying to monitor how much flow was coming in with this CFH gauge, and there were some points where it was actually pegged, and I didn't think that was really a problem. And there's certain parts of the video, if we edit it right, and you'll be able to see which parts I'm talking about, where you see me having trouble getting the hopper lid open. And the reason was because the size of the piping that's internal to this only allows so much air through it. So what we ended up finding was we were actually starving the gasifier of air. We were choking it off so bad that the inside was building up in a vacuum. So what we ended up doing was, once we figured that out, like I was actually opening the hopper up to check out the fuel situation, and I was finding out that not only was it hard to get the lid open, but there was an inrush of air, which meant that it was changing the way things were happening inside the gasifier, to the point where sometimes the generator would actually stall out. So once I figured out that this was the problem and took this off, I mean, things really smoothed out a lot. Okay, so that's one thing. So those hoses will be changed out. Hopefully that's what was causing, the reason they're getting changed out is because these were actually starting to collapse. And I believe that that's the reason why, because it built up in such a deep vacuum, because this was restricting the amount of air that could get in there. So they are going to get better hoses on there. I probably won't be using that ever again for full time, maybe for like, you know, a couple seconds at a time, just to see if it's within that range. I can do that. So generally speaking, at the 1800 watts that we were running, we ended up drawing a little over 100 CFH of gas or air into the system. So that's what caused that deficiency and that restriction there with that. All right, so moving on to the filters, we did take all three filters out, and you can see this is the third filter. So you can see here's a piece of the fresh stuff, and there's some pretty good amount of tar on this. Okay. I don't know if you want to get a shot up here at the top of this. Look there at the top of that filter. That's what would be at the top of the pipe. So I just wanted to get a shot of that, and then you can kind of compare the fresh wood chips to the ones that were in the second filter. And here's our stainless steel pot scrubbers. Okay, so this is, moving on here, this is the amount of biochar that we got out of this long run that we did, which to me surprised me again. So I thought there sure would be more than that, and then there was some mixed fuel here that was left over. Now, one interesting thing that I did find was when I took the ash grate off the bottom, I thought that stuff would just, I thought everything would just fall right out. But there was some stuff in here. Let me spread this out to get a little light on this. There was some stuff in here. Now, it's not like packed tight, like it just crumbles, but it was packed. I mean, it actually feels like foam the way it breaks apart. But it was packed pretty tight in the hearth area, which leads me to believe that, you know, that may have, I don't know if that would have pulled through or blocked up solid or what. Let me know what your thoughts are on that, because that was interesting to me. I thought for sure this stuff would just fall right through there, you know. Interesting. It's not like, I mean, it's very soft, but I don't know. Maybe it would crumble under a good enough vacuum. But, and then the other last thing, before I give you one more shot down the hearth with it empty, was this coffee filter. I mean, it had that goldish color to it when I put it in there, so I was very happy to see that. That made a big deal, for, you know, as far as what I expected to find in the blower. That made my day. So real quick, come over here. I want to ask an opinion on this one too. So far, this piping that I have here that runs through the radiator, I've only ever seen at best a 30-degree difference of air between the ambient temperature and what actually is coming into the gasifier. Let me know what your thoughts are as far as removing this and just having regular ambient air being drawn in here and just capping these, because it would be a whole lot easier to clean this radiator out without taking all this apart. Just, you know, I just kind of like some opinions on that. And then I will take the camera. I'll take this glove off here. And then I'll give you one more shot down in the hearth after it's cleaned out now. So let's see if I can zoom in here. So you can see there's some char that kind of got stuck to the side, the inside of that cone. Can't really get a... Hopefully that'll give you what you think you need to see there. Hand this back. So I guess that's the end of this run. A couple things that I think I want to do in the future here. I'd like to get a bigger generator for sure, because I don't think that's putting out what I was hoping to get out of it. I think we averaged about 1800 watts, and it might have even been a little less than that. But again, I was running in a deep vacuum. I was running at about anywhere between 10 and 13 kPa, minus 10 and 13 kPa. So that is, I don't know, 40 or 50 inches of water. So the purpose of doing that was to try to keep the fuel clean, but maybe I need to shake more. Maybe I need to, you guys can give me your opinions on that too. I know there's some pretty gentle blowers out there having no problem pulling stuff through the system, and you know, as far as the quality of the gas, what are your thoughts on how much is it affected by the level of vacuum that you're in? So generators on my hit list. Some of those pipes are on my hit list that I have to change out, those plastic pipes. Obviously I'll do a little bit of a cleanup of some of the internal piping here. And then another big hitter for me is getting into the programming of things. I showed you guys that you can see the temperatures of things. I don't know what I'm going to be able to do as far as my thermocouple goes about getting that in a better place. There really isn't much I can do as far as mounting it in another place unless I do a temporary, you know, put it in the fire for a couple minutes and see what it does kind of thing. But then I got to get into the programming. So I got to get into, you know, writing the logic for the program and figuring out what, you know, maybe go over some of my notes and figure out what I need to see in order for it to shake the grate, and, you know, just look at the different variables that I need to have the program look for in order to make a change in the system, and then try to automate it from there. So if you guys have any suggestions or anything to add, or maybe you noticed something I didn't, you know, feel free to leave a comment. And thanks for following along, for everybody that's been watching this from the beginning, because this is 2.5 years to get to this point. So, you know, I'm pretty happy to get the engine running and generate some power for real this time. So thanks for following along, and I will get you guys on the next step. Thanks for watching.